All right, that wasn't loud enough. There we go. Hello and welcome to the National Press Club, the place where news happens. I'm Jen Judson, the 115th president of the National Press Club. Thank you. I did not mention this earlier, but if you do have questions, please fill them out. There's cards on your table, or you can email us at headliners@press.org, and please put Fran Drescher in the subject line. All right. I'm going to take a moment just to introduce our head table. Starting to my right at the end of the table, we have multimedia reporter for ABC News, Libby Cathy. Next, we have SAG-AFTRA WMA local president, Catherine Clavana. And please feel free to stand up if you would like. Next is White House and breaking news editor for the Los Angeles Times, Del Wilbur. And skipping over our guest of honor for a moment, we have Donna Leinwin-Legere, president and founder of DC Media Strategies, former National Press Club president, and co-chair of our headliners team that organized today's luncheon. And to my left, we have Ian Colgren, labor reporter for Bloomberg Law. Next is Liz Schuler, president of the AFL-CIO, and Mike Balsamo, lead justice reporter for the Associated Press and National Press Club secretary, and Katie Benner, Justice Department reporter for the New York Times. How about a round of applause for our head table guests this afternoon? All right, with that. It has been a long 2 years for the US entertainment industry. With the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, hundreds of film and TV productions shut down. According to the 2020 theme report released by the Motion Picture Association, the US market for theatrical and home mobile entertainment came just to over $32 billion, an 11% drop from 2019. But whatever the pain to the studios, it was nothing compared to the shock felt by ordinary actors. While some found remote work or were able to complete post-production voice work from home, many found themselves unemployed for long stretches at a time. The industry appeared to bounce back in 2021, but each new wave of the coronavirus brought fresh shutdowns of individual productions whenever actors or crew members on a production tested positive. In the face of these challenges, the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, known as SAG-AFTRA, joined with unions representing directors and film and TV crew members to hammer out an agreement with producers regarding how to keep their members safe from the spread of COVID. The return to work agreement covered everything from vaccine mandates to paid sick leave. The protocols remained in force with updates to this day. Our speaker today was elected to head SAG-AFTRA in September 2021 in the midst of these monumental challenges. Fran Drescher was recruited by then-President Gabrielle Cartierez to run to succeed her in the hopes that Drescher's star power would help strengthen the organization. Drescher was both the star of and the creative force behind CBS's hit series The Nanny from 1993 to 1999, which had me hooked as a teenager. She earned 2 Emmy nominations and 2 Golden Globe nominations for her portrayal for the title character Fran Fine. And since then, she's returned to the small screen in series includes Happily Divorced, Indebted, and most recently, Mr. Mayor. But in the years between The Nanny and taking the helm at SAG-AFTRA, she also became known for her work in the nonprofit world. A 21-year cancer survivor, she founded Cancer Schmancer Movement, taken from the title of her second book, which is dedicated to educating, motivating, and activating patients into medical consumers by becoming better partners with their physicians and connecting lifestyles with disease. In 2005, she was named one of the top 5 celebrity lobbyists in DC by Forbes after successfully getting the Gynecologic Cancer Education and Awareness Act passed by unanimous consent. And this is her second appearance at the National Press Club. Today, she'll discuss the intersection of workers' rights, environmental sustainability, and preventive health in a speech titled Labor Leadership on Issues That Matter and Our Impact on Society at Large. Ms. Drescher, welcome to the National Press Club. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. How sweet. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. What a warm welcome. You know, before I begin, I just want to thank our host, National Press Club President, Jen Jetson. Thank you so much for all your kind words. I appreciate it. And the National Press Club Board of Governors, as well as my friend and labor warrior, AFL-CIO President Liz Schuler. Thanks for coming and being here today. And also our Washington Mid-Atlantic President, Catherine Clavana. A little labor solidarity here. And a shout out to the club's union staff who made this day possible. Now, thank you. I am the president of SAG-AFTRA. That's the largest entertainment union in the world and a proud member of the AFL-CIO. And one of the great conundrums that I face as a labor leader is, how do I stretch producers' health fund contributions that basically increases by 3% a year across all eligible member claims when health costs in America on average increase by 6.5%? And the answer is, I can't. It's completely unsustainable. Our trustees have a tough time dealing with the elephant in that room. And plus, the reserve that we have has to be a short-term investment, and that means that it's a lower yield. So this is not even a problem that's unique to us. This escalating costs of health is something that is a problem all across America. Well, I happen to be the daughter of a systems analyst, and one of the things in which I tend to obsess is how to crack the code on things that seem inefficient or broken systems. So in order to solve this problem, I have to solve another problem first, which is, why are we such a sick nation in the first place? Why is one of the richest nations in the world also one of the unhealthiest, as determined by the World Health Organization? What are we doing wrong? And why does the discoverable answer remain an enigma? In a nutshell, most people are not asking the right questions. I'm a cancer survivor who morphed into a health activist, who founded the Cancer Schmancer Movement and wrote the New York Times bestseller, Cancer Schmancer. And the more I spoke on the subject, the more I began to see things from a different perspective. It became clear to me that our healthcare system is really a sick care system, meaning we wait until a person gets sick and then try to fix them, rather than actually trying to keep them healthy in the first place. That's like taking an apple tree that grows rotten apples and trying to cure each apple, when the real problem is in the roots. I mean, we all were very accepting of the fact that people who had pre-existing conditions had a much more difficult time surviving COVID. But the missed opportunity was to figure out how we stop getting so many pre-existing conditions so that we can be more resistant against viruses. Getting to the root causation of dis-ease seems to evade contemporary culture. And why do you suppose? Well, in my humble opinion, greed is the major contributor to this counterintuitive approach to wellness. First, what's to blame for why we're all so sick? Well, the chemical industry in the 20th century cleverly repurposed toxic war chemicals onto civilian life, creating a multi-billion-dollar profit margin at the expense of all things of true value: the foods we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe, all resulting in our generally poor health. America was sold a bill of goods that, frankly, is not serving us well. This mania to try and chemically control the natural world has dug us all an early grave. But wait, in steps our savior, the multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical industry. The sicker we are, the richer they become. Their deep pockets buys influence over academia, elected officials, patient-targeted advertising, and the medical community at large. They have zero incentive to encourage us to live a preventative lifestyle. And since they control the whole narrative, Americans exist in a revolving door of toxic exposure, chronic illness, and drug treatment. This is like throwing water on a fire from one side while continuing to throw kerosene on it from the other. At the end of the day, the problem never really gets solved. We must begin to eliminate our daily exposure to the myriad of toxins that are constantly eroding our highly developed immune system. It's time that we stop putting business profit above our health and the health of the planet. So therein lies the rub. Now, what are we going to do about it? Well, here's the plan. Break the shackles that enslave us to these two behemoths and become free to honor our bodies and learn how to live in harmony with nature. Leadership up and down the ladder must pivot the entire nation towards living a preventative lifestyle, but more importantly, away from toxic, health-compromising chemicals that are in everything, as well as our dependency on prescriptive and over-the-counter drugs. It's not to say that there isn't a conservative place for any of these businesses, but we, as a culture, have gone so far off the rails for far too long. And at the end of the day, manufacturers don't want to kill us. They actually just want to sell us. But they'll sell us anything that we're willing to buy, which right now is anything. If we all collectively stopped drinking cola today, they would stop making it tomorrow. It wouldn't matter who was in the White House. It wouldn't matter what legislation never got passed. It wouldn't matter because the bottom line is the bottom line. Look, we had to be taught to become a throwaway, chemical and drug-dependent society. And now we have to be taught to live in harmony with nature, how to honor our bodies, and how to self-care. Toxic chemicals are so pervasive, its tentacles has infiltrated every aspect of our lives. They're in foods, cosmetics, personal care items, cleaning products, garden supplies, fabrics, furnishings, packaging. No iron shirts are still off-gassing after 10 years of being washed. If you eat a strawberry that's not organic, you might as well be eating a sponge soaked in pesticides. We each consume the equivalent of a credit card worth of microplastic every week. American women's breast milk has the highest percentage of flame retardant in it from any other woman on the planet. Babies are being born pre-polluted with 200 to 300 chemicals found in the umbilical cord. The cacophony of toxic chemicals each and every day is impacting our health because of its impact on the efficiency of our immune system and other systems in the body. Many of these chemicals are hormone enhancers, neurotransmitter interrupters, and create leaky gut, all contributing to reproductive abnormalities and cancers, brain issues like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and dementia, autoimmune problems like lupus, thyroiditis, as well as inflammation like arthritis, migraines, asthma. It's no coincidence that these are some of America's most common chronic conditions and, oh, by the way, most prescribed drugs to treat them. Okay. Use your noodle. It's just common sense. The cleaner and more pristine we choose to live, the better our immune systems can operate at an optimal. But as long as we continually erode our immune systems, we become vulnerable to dis-ease. So where do we begin? Well, as long as we live in a country where healthcare is a for-profit business without a conscience, then it is up to we the people to grab the bull by the horns and force change ourselves. Labor must become healthier or face a narrowing of coverage along with an expanding of eligibility requirements. I plan to create a pilot program that will engage my member body and hopefully influence other businesses to do the same. America's labor force must learn how to detox their lives. What weakens the immune system versus what strengthens it. How to read labels and what to look for and what to avoid. How to first change yourself, then your family, and each one teach one. To become a mindful consumer instead of a mindless one. We all must begin the daily practice of supporting your immune system, honoring your body, reducing stress, and balance mind, body, and spirit. I want everyone to dial everything back to a much simpler time when all ingredients were things that might have grown in your grandma's garden. To make your own cleaning products or use eco-friendly. To understand how to self-care and that food is medicine. To detox your home, which in most cases is more polluted than living across the street from an oil refinery. And in turn, we most likely may get sick less, resulting in fewer health coverage claims. So more contributions will go into the fund than go out. Let's not get sick in the first place. How's that for a cure? We are the only species that works against nature rather than with it. We function like a cancer because we don't want to die, and yet we destroy our host. Please listen to your inner voice. The wisdom to live pristinely and in harmony with nature is already built in. As long as America's healthcare costs continue to spiral out of control, and our only hedge against financial collapse is to get healthy and stay that way. Once you wake up and smell the coffee, people, it is hard to go back to sleep. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
No, I don't think you're on. You want to share this?
Yeah, you may need to. Nope. Oh, it's working now. Okay.
Oh.
I think there was just
Okay.
a delayed reaction on turning the volume up here. Thank you so much for that. That was very inspiring, and it makes me want to go home and clean out my refrigerator.
Good girl. Good girl.
And never drink out of a plastic bottle.
Good.
But I wanted to ask a question that actually came in right as you were speaking. As you began to think about the impact of toxic chemicals in your daily life, what personal steps did you take to remove such chemicals from your life? How challenging was that?
You know, it's definitely a daily practice. It's always a work in progress. I never tell anybody to, throw anything away that you paid hard-earned money for, but once you finish it, then you have to kind of shift gears and start reading labels and engage the family and make it something that's actually a fun new direction that you're going in, that in the long run is going to really help you and your loved ones, including your pets. For me, in, on, and around you, what are you putting in your mouth? What are you putting on your skin? All your personal care items, including oral hygiene. What are you cleaning with and what are you gardening with? That's just the tip of the iceberg, but that's a great place to start. And I use, toothpaste that does not say a disclaimer on the back, do not swallow or call poison control. That is completely counterintuitive. You don't need anything like that. You don't need chemicals in your toothpaste. The water that I drink is very pristine. I make my own cleaning products, or I buy eco-friendly. But honestly, there is nothing you can't clean in the house. This idea of industrial strength anything was foisted upon us. Anything that has a very long-lasting smell has phthalates in it that is cancer-causing. So, we have to think about that. When you open up that bottle of pine cleaner, 6 months after you opened it, it still smells. Or that pine thing that hangs on your rearview mirror, all of that is damaging you. And, you're not gonna, if you know somebody that has, bladder cancer, they may never have been connected to lifestyle or using industrial strength products, but, stop using it. Trust me, just don't. Even things like Reynolds Wrap. I shouldn't use a brand name, but any aluminum foil, now they know when it's heated, and I grew up, we made corn, on the barbecue, everything was with the aluminum foil, and yet it gives off noxious fumes that are toxic. So, I don't cook with it anymore. I may put it in the fridge. I don't cook with it anymore. So there are many things like that that we have to think about, and it's definitely has to do with food, your personal care items, and what you're bringing into the home. Because a woman and a man, before they even leave to go to work in the morning, have exposed themselves to at least 8 to 15 different toxic chemicals. And that's hurting us. We weren't designed to have to combat all that.
All right, eek, I just baked with Reynolds Wrap.
Use parchment paper, use wax paper. Those are the replacements for plastic and aluminum foil. And this escalation in all these brain problems, it's not just neurotransmitter interrupters, but it's aluminum. Because my parents grew up in an age where having aluminum cans and aluminum chlorhydrate under the arms and aluminum foil, everything was aluminum. And massive amounts of aluminum is found in people that have these problems like Alzheimer's and stuff after they're passed.
So how do you encourage people to buy organic when clearly those options are often more expensive? What are the same things that you tell people when they say that to you?
That is a commonly asked question, and in fact, I have to say that over the years that I've been singing this song, it's now available in Costco, it's available in Walmart, it's not as expensive as it used to be. Getting sick is much more expensive. You will pay a dear price if you wait until you get that ill-fated phone call, you or your loved ones. Don't wait. Stick with prevention. Personally, I would rather have an organic chicken once a week and the rest of the week eat, vegetables, rice, beans, whatever it is, if I can't afford more than that, then every night of the week eat processed food that's filled with chemicals and slowly making me and my family sick.
Okay. Well, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. You won a relatively close and sometimes contentious contest to lead SAG-AFTRA. Your secretary-treasurer, Jolie Fisher, was elected from the opposing ticket. When you won, you said you wanted to win over the support of members who didn't vote for you. What have you been doing in the nearly 8 months since your election to accomplish that?
I have to say that I get some very pleasant emails from people that I know did not vote for me. And I think that and some of my peers from the union here, I did forewarn them that I'm probably more radical than they might expect me to be. And I came in not having any preconceived notions about who anybody was. So I had no built-in prejudice towards anybody. I will listen to what they have to say, and whoever it's coming from, and I don't know who the hell they are, but I may agree with them. I may, respectfully disagree with them. But I feel like it was a really healthy thing that I ended up winning this election, because I feel like I straddled the fence more successfully because I happen to agree with both sides of the coin on a lot of different issues. And so people that felt shut out or marginalized or unheard, might have been frustrated, no longer are. So I think I'm succeeding in uniting us as a member body. And I think that if I can accomplish that during my tenure, that will be a great achievement, and I will be very proud that that has happened. And I do see us moving towards each other instead of away.
In January, you told Vanity Fair that the SAG-AFTRA presidency seemed like it would be an amalgam of many of your strengths and accomplishments coming to a point in this one defining moment. Can you explain more what you mean?
Well, I've been in the leadership position for most of, certainly since the Nanny, which I created and executive produced. But I couldn't even get cancer without turning it into some kind of a cottage industry where I wanted to change everything and, reinvent the wheel and help everybody, because it took me 2 years and 8 doctors to get a proper diagnosis with uterine cancer. I got in the stirrups more times than Django. And I did not want what happened to me to happen to other people. But, then I realized after I wrote the book that it did happen to a lot of people all across America. Misdiagnosis, mistreatment, and as an unfortunate consequence, late-stage diagnosis for many people. I was very blessed. I was still in stage 1 even after all that time. I happened to have a slow-growing cancer. You got to be lucky with even what kind of cancer you have. But once that happened, and you're a celebrity and a public speaker, and you wrote a New York Times bestseller, and you started a nonprofit, you go to Washington. That's the next step. And I was very instrumental in getting the Gynecologic Cancer Education and Awareness Act passed, the first of its kind in U.S. history. And then I was written up twice in the Congressional Record, and then I was appointed public diplomacy envoy for the U.S. State Department under Secretary Rice. So I've been here, I've been in leadership, I've been in show business, I've been a proud member of SAG-AFTRA since I was a teenager, from years ago. And so I feel like, and I'm a big thinker. I am more of a visionary, more of somebody that tries to reinvent the wheel. And I think that that's important. It's important for us as SAG-AFTRA, and I want to elevate our union to be a union that speaks on issues that matter and no longer to remain Switzerland. We have too many members, and we're the largest influencer on the planet, and it's important that we, as the largest entertainment union in the world, we show a responsibility to that world. So I've started the first Green Council, which is going to be an amalgam of all of the show business entities, and Green Council means eco-responsible entertainment. We must normalize eco-responsible life, both on camera and behind the scenes, because if we don't, who will? So this is a hero's journey, and we have to take the helm on this in a way that hasn't been seen since World War II. But Hollywood has to help us change the way we think, change the way we live, because right now there is so much eco-irresponsibility being seen in movies and on television, and that's what's normalized. And that has to be deleted from our consciousness, and we have to all start living and seeing our heroes on the big screen and the small screen living that way too.
Well, that's a great segue for a question I have here on the Green Council program that you're putting into motion. What are some of the things that can be implemented almost immediately, and what are some of the bigger challenges in getting the industry to be more environmentally responsible?
Well, the cornerstone of Green Council, which I hope will build a legacy upon, is to eliminate all single-use plastic, both on camera and behind the scenes. So that, for me, feels very doable. Plastic, we are being buried alive. Every piece of plastic that has ever been manufactured, every single piece, since it was first invented in the early 20th century, is still with us. There is no such thing as, disposable fast food, none of that. It's really an oxymoron, and we have to think about when we take that plastic bottle of water and we zip it down in 5 minutes, that bottle is conceivably here for 1,000 years. And there are billions of bottles like that each and every year. So, what was your question?
Well, you did answer part of it, which is what are some of the immediate things you can do, but what are some of the bigger challenges now facing your industry in terms of becoming more environmentally responsible?
Well, look, I would love to see that because I think it will incent all the entities that are involved to keep moving and taking deeper dives. Naturally, follow the money. It's always a problem when it's costly. So that's why I want to start with something that's simple but highly impactful. I mean, even where I live in California, you know, they outlawed plastic straws because it's so environmentally unsound, unsafe, not recyclable, and even recycling is only like maybe 2 or 3% of everything. So, but how we can be more so, you know, we're going to have to look at the kinds of fuel we use, the kinds of vehicles we use when we're in production, all of those things that the rest of the world is needing to examine, we have to examine too. We're not, you know, off the hook, and we're not curing cancer, so we, you know, we really get no free pass. So I would say, you know, and there are wonderful organizations like Emma, who is very directly involved and has a whole dirty laundry list of things that people in our industry can embrace. And then there are other organizations who are also NGOs who are partners with Green Council, like Plastic Pollution Coalition and Plastic Oceans and Cancer Schmancer, and everybody has their own lane of expertise, and they're advising us on next steps.
All right, changing subjects. You've named preventing sexual harassment in the entertainment industry and encouraging the on-set use of intimacy coordinators among your top priorities. What are some of the concrete steps you're taking towards these goals?
Well, since, you know, my administration, we started the first national sexual harassment committee. So within that, there were a couple of projects that we want to push forward. First of all, we have zero tolerance for predators in our industry. We have to create a climate, thank you. We have to create a climate where people that are victimized, that feel unsafe, have a safe place to report this, whether it's anonymous or not, and we've established that. But also, we want to start spearheading the training of intimacy coordinators. Intimacy coordinators eventually will be on every single set because but the paradox is that we don't have enough of them right now to be on every single set. And so I would like to see SAG-AFTRA be very instrumentally involved in creating a new business, a new pathway for people who, you know, would like to be in show business, but, you know, want to be part of the process, coming out of high school like a new trade. I think that this is a new trade that kids that don't know what they want to do, it could be a really beautiful closed circuit, an inner city kid or an at-risk kid maybe wants to move into something and take the course. And I would like to see these courses become curriculums at community colleges. So that's a big ambition that we're moving forward with. And the other thing is that I would like to do a documentary like Shoah did for, you know, Holocaust survivors, and do it for all of the people that have been victimized by the casting couch. Because when it's all put down, and then put it into a museum and have it just run. And a lot of famous people will be part of it, and some people that, you know, you don't even know, but their stories are authentic and compelling. And it has to be talked about, and it has to be seen. And we have a lot of older members who were really there back, in the day. People that were in during the mid-century and stuff who can speak to that. There was just a big article, and some of our older members were interviewed in Vanity Fair and talking about a particular very famous actor in his day who took liberties that no one in their, that no one should ever accept. It was widely accepted back in the day, and the more we talk about it and the more we bring it out in the open, the more egregious it becomes, and the more aware people are of their behavior. So I want to see something like that happen too.
So more broadly, the Me Too movement has been a central driver in the entertainment industry over the last few years. So how are things changing? What still needs to change?
Well, I think that, women, what has to change is that we have to become a more female-friendly society. It's not just in my business, it's in every business. If the woman isn't invited to sit at the table, you only have half the conversation, half the sensibility. You cannot make a proper decision. We have to understand that everybody brings something to the party. And women in leadership, we're seeing more and more, and that's an important thing because it's imperative that we get that perspective, that point of view. And I think that the more we see it, the more normalized it becomes, the less it becomes about, black or white, male or female. Look, we're living in a gender-fluid age. All of that stuff where we put people into boxes, that's old school. And we have to dispense with it. And just, as Shakespeare said, know before whom thou stands. Just judge a person on their merit and what they have to say. And that's where we actively have to move towards across all boards, whether it be in politics, whether it be in journalism or broadcasting, whether it be, in unions, it doesn't matter. Everywhere we turn, we have to start deleting the prejudices that maybe the 20th century had. What happens historically in the beginning of a century is what sets the trajectory for the next 100 years. Well, it's only 2022. 100 years ago, women were just getting the vote. So a lot can happen. What we do today will impact where we go and what happens with our daughters and our daughters' daughters. So, and I think that also it's very important that people realize that what a personal space means, what comfort zone means, what's acceptable, what's not really a joke. Something as what seems benign as that, we have to reevaluate, and that's okay, because that's what growing and changing and learning is all about, and that's what we're constantly doing.
Okay. What steps is SAG-AFTRA taking to reduce the risk of on-set fatal accidents involving firearms in the wake of the shooting death of Helena Hutchins on the set of the film Rust?
Well, we have been waiting for the ultimate conclusions of what actually happened. Were regulations that are already in place broke? Or do regulations need to be put in place that don't exist currently? Once it's completely unpacked and we really know what went down, then we're going to take a deep dive into making sure that it never happens again. Because, for my money, it's a make-believe world. I never need to see any live ammo in a make-believe world. And especially with all the post-production that's available today, It doesn't even have to fire like a gun. That could be put into post. Everything could be put into post. The risk and, for people's safety should never be jeopardized for the sake of making a make-believe world seem more real. And on that note, we have to have a national industry-wide decision on the common practice. It cannot change from state to state because there's too much overlap. People from this state is shooting in that state, and this state's doing that movie, and this state's doing their own thing. It's like, no, we can't do that. There are some things that have to be hopefully dictated by the industry in the best interest of everybody concerned.
Okay. How are you preparing for the SAG-AFTRA for its next round of contract negotiations in 2023? What are some of the main issues going into that? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. Well, we just concluded a very long and exhausting for the negotiators commercials contract. And so as soon as that was over, I said, now we have to roll up our sleeves because we're a year out from the theatrical. And it's going to take that long to really be inventive and imaginative because streaming is the big thing and of our day. And it's not going away, but, and hear me people, it has been like a wild stallion for a long time. And now we need to throw a saddle on that baby and pull in the reins. So it's a lot of outside of the box thinking. It's not just building on contracts that existed before. It's kind of reinventing the wheel in a way, and it's coming up with something, in my opinion, that hasn't been thought of before. A new way to do it, a new way to protect our members, compensate them. And listen, we're here right now for the American Music Fairness Act because AM/FM radio is the only entity that still doesn't pay our members for exploiting their music that they make a lot of money off of from sponsors. Now, it's like they're the only ones that still get, it's a loophole. And we are here to close up that loophole. That's why I'm here. I mean, I'm here for you too, of course. But that's why we're here, and it's very important. We had Gloria Estefan speak at the Legislation Committee, congressional hearing quite recently. David Foster is going to come and speak on behalf of AMFA. I'm constantly reeling in the big guns. Peter Frampton said that he'll come because there are a lot of people, not the rich ones that you always think are in the music business, but most of the people that are the backup singers, that are the musicians, and they can be in a part of a song like Uptown Funk, which is the most played song in music history, and not get a dime beyond that recording session. And not only is that not fair, but these are middle-class people. They have bills to pay. They have kids to put through school. They deserve it. They're being exploited, and we're here to close up that loophole.
So question from the audience. In the last few years, SAG-AFTRA has expanded to include influencers and content creators. Why expand in this way, and how do you strike a balance in the membership between traditional on-screen actors and online creators?
Well, it's not about balance. It's about addressing everybody's needs differently. I mean, even right now, without that group, once the merge happened between SAG and AFTRA, we have a very broad and diverse group of members, from broadcasters to background players to singers to dancers to commercial actors to performers to stunt people. I mean, it's a big, union of a lot of different people. So adding this, is not a huge hardship. But we are a labor union, and it is our job to keep claiming productions. And, this is, again, a new frontier. And if you're going to go and make millions of dollars and, by creating your own little production, you should be part of SAG-AFTRA. And in the end, you may not realize it today because maybe you're, a young person who doesn't see the need for being part of a union, but eventually you will, because we will protect you. We will help you to maximize, your profits, and we will help you with all kinds of medical coverage and things. If I'm a cancer survivor. If I didn't work as much as I did and have the benefit of my union covering my health insurance, I wouldn't be such a great, client for the insurance companies, because it's like the first question they ask you. But I'm with a union, and I'm very proud to be with that union. And people don't even realize, when I joined the union, when I was a kid, it felt like a professional. I was part of Screen Actors Guild and part of AFTRA. And it just made me feel like a real pro. And I'm trying to, elevate our cachet on the national landscape so that young people are more engaged and also feel that desire to be part of this great union in the entertainment industry.
Okay. How did the Will Smith incident at the Oscars change the way SAG-AFTRA thinks about workplace safety?
Well, I don't think it changed anything. You can't assault somebody. That's the bottom line. I don't think they ever thought, well, maybe we can, but now I don't think we can. I don't think nobody at the union, we're not really changing our policy. You absolutely, and I grew up, sticks and stones can break your bones, but names can never harm you. So, and I'm such a pacifist anyway. So, you don't raise a hand to somebody. That's the thing. I felt very saddened by that, and because I know Will, and I also know Chris. And, Chris was what we would call in my family very menschy. And Will, I think if he turns lemons into lemonade, it's an opportunity to see what triggered him and take a little bit of a deep dive into his emotions, because he has been in front of the camera since he was a child, and he has no history of anything like that. Something happened, and when something happens like that, it behooves you to look into it, and I think he is. So that's a positive thing, and no, there's no tolerance for that. Not in the Academy, not in SAG-AFTRA, and hopefully. It's an anomaly that we're never going to see again.
Okay. You're here in Washington this week, so can you talk a little bit more what you will be doing on the Hill this week?
Yes, well, I'm taking, this AMFA bill is bipartisan. So on the last trip, which was a few months ago, we met with, the leader, the speaker, the vice president. We met a lot of people who basically are Democrats, but it is a bipartisan bill. And I said to my government affairs people, next trip, we got to reach out across party lines and talk to some of the GOPs. So that's what we're doing on this trip, which I'm very excited about. Don't forget, I did get something passed by unanimous consent. That means all 100 senators said, yes, So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm going to the Grammys on the Hill, which I'm looking forward to, and I'm going to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which will be fun. I'm going to the MPA, the Motion Picture Association, pre-dinner on the night before, which came in last minute, so I'm actually one outfit short. I'm going to have to repeat, and I don't know which one, but but yes. So we're very, very busy, and it's going to be a very exciting trip.
All right, thank you. I wanted to ask a more fun question, I guess, less serious. But one of my favorite movies is Spinal Tap. So I would love it if you would share a story from being on set and acting in that film.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I was shooting Dr. Detroit, which was a big budget movie for Universal, starring Dan Aykroyd, which was the first movie he did subsequent to John Belushi having passed away. And so it was a big deal for him. It was a big movie at the studio, and really didn't go that far. But I was shooting a night shoot. We were doing something with James Brown, and we shot the whole night. And the next day, I had an interview with Rob Reiner. That was his first film, Spinal Tap, first directorial debut, although I think that he might have directed a couple of episodes on Family. But this was his first movie. And I sat there and I was absolutely exhausted, but I didn't want to miss the audition because many people don't realize that it was an improv movie with a 27-page outline. So you got a description of what the scene was, and then you had to be very good at improv. And there were a lot of people who were really great, and I thought I was good, so I wanted a chance at getting on the movie. And I guess I was kind of tired and talking slow, and Rob said, you know, you're not exactly what I was imagining, but I like what you're doing here. And I got the part of Bobby Fleckman. And, you know, it was an unbelievable experience. That was the low-budget film. I provided my own wardrobe. We made up all the lines as we went along. And that was the enduring film that to this day is still on everybody's road tours with their bands. And the other movie, you know, kind of went into cable heaven. But so you never quite know which thing is going to be the great thing. But I thank you for asking about that movie. It's amazing that people still love it so much.
It will always be a favorite of mine. And so you did a wonderful job in that as well.
Thank you.
We are almost out of time. So before we wrap today's discussion with a final question, let me take a moment to thank Headliners co-team leaders Donna Leinwand-Leger and Lori Russo as well. And the organizer of today's event, Headliners member Andrew Schneider, Club Membership Director Kate Helster, and Club Executive Director Bill McCarran. We also invite you to join us for our upcoming virtual Headliners Newsmaker on April 29th at 10 a.m. with Dr. Anthony Fauci, who will update us on the latest developments in the coronavirus pandemic. It's also my honor to present you with your second National Press Club mug.
Yay.
You have a pair now.
Oh,
I'm sure
great.
you still have yours.
Thank you.
And
I'm glad there's writing on both sides because, you know,
always
I'm
know.
left-handed. So.
Great. I'm glad that it does that for you. I wanted to ask one last question before we wrap up. Were you able to keep your wardrobe on the Nanny, and what was your favorite outfit?
Well, first of all, most of it would not fit. Also, I am too long in the tooth for the hot pants that I once wore back in the 90s. So a lot of them, it wouldn't matter anymore. But I do have a couple of coats and a few pair of over-the-knee boots still to this day. And there actually was an exhibition. There were such enthusiastic collectors that they have, different people have collected, and it's all over social media, what Fran wore, fashion and art, Nanny art it's called. And it's just unbelievable, the enthusiasm of the fans, because a lot of the children, like yourself, who watched it, then became the people that really kind of were the groundbreakers for social media. So they kind of kept it going online in that way and started to, as they got older, understand the double entendre jokes, really started to appreciate how great the fashion was and all of that, the quality of the writing, all of that. So, and now they're sharing it with their children. So it's just an amazing, amazing gift that keeps on giving to me, and thank you. Did I answer it?
Yes,
Oh,
thank you so
okay.
much. I'm glad you kept some of your most timeless pieces.
Yes, I did. Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much
that
for
was it.
joining us
Thank
today.
you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. Thank you.